Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the video as you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like, because the purpose of this channel is educational in regards to atheist and deconversion issues, and any issues related to those issues. Today is Sundays with the Rabyd Atheist. I want to do something a little bit different. I want to interrupt the normal flow of our Bible study. I'll get back to the Bible study next week, but I'm also going to start adding stuff like this that I'm about to do, because I think Sundays with the Rabyd Atheist are going to be a little bit more laid back, and I want to deal with multiple topics, more like a podcast, I guess, only you can see my face and it's on YouTube. But my main thrust of Sundays with the Rabyd Atheist now is going to also be to address some of the issues I've been meaning to address for a couple of weeks. I just haven't had the time to do the video. So, if you just add this on to when you're recording, Sundays with the Rabyd Atheist, you can get it in and get it done and then go on to the Bible study. And I'm also going to address comments. So today I'm going to do what I'm going to start out almost every one of these Sundays with the Rabyd Atheist with, and then address some comments. I'm going to leave the Bible study off because I've been working on this part a little bit more than the Bible study, and I want to make sure we do it right. So, plus I think I can move through Job a lot faster now that I've read ahead, so the dialogue part is immaterial. But today, I want to give you 5 costs of faith, 5 things that you can lose if your religion turns out to not be true, okay? And I'm going to throw in a lot of my own experiences in here, because this is kind of a response. About a year ago, William Lane Craig kind of lit the internet on fire for a bit when he made his statement about if there's a 1,000,000 chance, you still need to take it, and that his real proof for his faith was the witness of the Spirit and not any empirical evidence. Kind of found himself in a little bit of a storm. But one of the things in all that dialogue that he says that I took great exception to was, well, if you believe, there really is no cost to that. And, oh, Mr. Craig, I beg to differ. Okay, because if Christianity or Islam or any religion is false, then all of its claims, all the things you're working for in the afterlife. You see, because the catalyst there is that carrot, right? The afterlife. The afterlife, it'll all be worth it when you get to the afterlife. But if there is no afterlife, if all these messages are true, then there's a lot of costs of this thing, because you only get one, I repeat, one life to live if all the religions are false. Okay, if atheism is true, and I believe it is, then there's a ton of costs that you pay to be in any religion that are false and are completely a cost to you. There is no such thing as this kind of costless religion, okay, especially if you're a Christian. I'll use a biblical example. How many times did Paul say, I've suffered great things for this cause, okay? And, if we, he even says, if the resurrection didn't happen, we are all men most miserable. Okay, because even he realized that the cost of following this, if it turns out not to be true, has been a waste. Okay, he knew that. Okay, and I want to get more specific. I want to talk about 5 things that I think following faith cost me personally and cost everybody else, that, maybe the next time you want to open your mouth and say it costs nothing, you might want to think about. Because I don't think even the messages of the scriptures would indicate that there's no cost to this. Okay? All right, number 1, your time. How many services do you go to? How many times did you give up something that you wanted to do and went to a service or went to a special meeting or did something for the church or whatever? This is time that you can't get back, okay? If there's one real allotment that we all get is every day we have the same 24 hours. Now, we don't even know if we have that kind of time, okay? So every bit of your time is very precious, okay? It's why, I am very focused on minimalism and essentialism, so that as I go for essentialist ideas of this is what I'm going to spend my time on, and minimalist is this is what's going to be in my life, okay? And those two philosophies are in direct opposition to my faith, because my faith said you got to give time to the church, you got to give time to the religion, you got to give time to Jesus, you got to give time to God. Okay, here's the problem with that. If it turns out that this is not true, all that time that I could be doing something else to benefit myself or other people is lost. It is lost time, and it is the most precious resource you have in this life is your time, because you really don't know when your time is up. You really don't know. And so spending every moment making sure you have your best life is a big thing. And time is a big cost for religion, because I'm going to tell you, this stuff ain't true. I've wasted a lot of time going to church. I wasted a lot of time pastoring a church. I wasted a lot of time, working on things at the church. My time was wasted for something that isn't true, okay? And that is a terrible cost to pay. Number two, opportunities. I'm going to use myself as an example because I think it's the best one. When I was in high school, I had a lot of different directions I wanted to go. I was very much into designing things, okay? I'm not a real hands-on builder. But one of the things I did love was science. I loved math. I loved drafting class, just designing things and building things. And the thing that I really loved was the space program. I loved NASA. I loved the rockets. I loved the space shuttle program. The whole aspect of going into space just really drove me a lot of times when I was thinking about it. I also loved, different other things too, but as a career, I thought to myself, I could become a damn good aerospace engineer if I really put my mind to it. The problem is, about 17 years old, I got this call into the ministry. Okay, 13 was the first time I said it, but by 17, I was taking it really, really seriously. I was going to go into college, I was going to become a preacher, and I was going to set the world on fire for Jesus. But now I look at it and I think to myself, what a lost opportunity. Because I tried to do the math when I got into college, because they had to assess me when I went back to school, because it had been so long, to see what math I knew. So they put me in kind of basic math, and I ended up doing a lot of business math because I was in economics and stuff like that. And I found that I could still do most of the math until I got to calculus. And then it was like, never really had calculus. Had I had it, maybe it would have been easier, but my brain just doesn't have the flexibility to handle it anymore. And I think to myself, what lost opportunities could I have had in pursuing, say, being an aerospace engineer? Okay, what kind of things could I have done with that? Okay, what kind of things could I have learned there? How could I have benefited the world there? I have very different views on going into space. I don't think that dealing with problems here on Earth and going into space are mutually exclusive. Okay, I think somehow we're going to get out there and we may find some of the answers that we need back here on planet Earth by going out into space and taking a look around. Okay, we need to have our opportunities. But on a personal level, I think to myself, man, what could I have done with that? What could I, especially now that I feel like my autistic focus would have been ignited by that. I think that would have been interesting because of my attention to detail and stuff like that. So it's kind of a wasted opportunity, and I feel bad about it. And that leads me to number 3, self-development. Learning about yourself. There's a lot of things I was never able to explore as a Christian about myself because they're sinful or they're whatever. I think in large terms of, sexuality, for instance. It's only recent days that I've explored that and discovered that I'm still very much heterosexual and I'm still very much attracted to girls. But also that, I don't really get jealous. And so poly is a reasonable possibility, also a reasonable possibility to settle down with one other person, with another woman. So those are my two options. But that was a discovery that I could have made very early in my life, and it would have led to a lot better, focus on what I wanted out of my relationships. But not just that, but it's like just learning who you are and learning different things. I was so focused on getting into ministry that I never realized that I could have spent my time from 18 to 25 focusing on me, and learning who I was. And instead, I found myself at Bible college, focused on the ministry, and all that. And you lose a lot of self-development, because you're put into this rigid structure of prayer and reading the Bible and letting that change you into something else instead of discovering who you are and learning that and then walking in your own strengths and your own opportunities and your own time, And that's all taken away from you because if, religion being false, and I believe it is, you lose all that, I lost so many opportunities for self-development because I had to focus on the ministry and I had to be a pastor and I had to do all this stuff, and you lose yourself and all that. Number 4, healthy relationships. In particular, I'm going to use the example of my marriage. I think one of the things that I can blame religion for the first cracks in my marriage is purity culture. And the reason I say that is because we were so quick to think marriage. I mean, we went from, hey, let's start dating again, in January to getting married in June. Why did we do that? Because purity culture said is once you start having sex, you need to get married or you're sinning, And the thing is, I look back at it and I think, were we even really compatible with each other? I mean, we went through marriage counseling, but the marriage counseling was all Christianized. And so it was more focused on the duties of husband and wife. It was more focused on that. It was never focused on discovering whether or not we were a good couple to be together. And I think that caused a problem. Now, maybe the reason our marriage lasted so long was we became focused on our kids. We became focused on our goal of being a pastor and pastor's wife, all of that stuff. But once all that stuff started to slip away, the children slipped away, I was no longer, a believer, it all started to unravel pretty quickly. And the real lack of compatibility was there. Some of my other relationships, it's funny because when I look back at it, when I finally did give up my faith, how many friends did I lose? Well, I suddenly realized that none of those relationships were healthy relationships. They were based on mutual gain or simply because we both shared the same faith. You lose a lot of friends, And if I hadn't had faith in the beginning, then the friends I would have made all along the way would still be there, They wouldn't have gone away. And so having healthy relationships, having realistic understanding of what relationships are about, not letting some arbitrary outside thing tell you what a husband should be or a wife should be or anything like that, but learning to discover that within the relationship is a far better way to go to me. And if this turns out not to be true, if your faith is not true in the end, then you lost your opportunity to have better and healthier relationships. And I now realize that had I been more focused on secular means of figuring this out, maybe I would have gone to a counselor when I was in my 20s saying, hey man, I got a problem. I don't know what it is. I get depressed all the time for no apparent reason. And, maybe they would say, well, I don't know, and then when autism became more popular to talk about, maybe they would have discovered it sooner and I would have been able to learn to cope and have better relationships down the road instead of being here late in life. And it's because of my faith and my religion that I never explored those options because it was always about, you got to pray so you get better. You got to change yourself. You got to let the Holy Spirit change you. And the truth is the Holy Spirit doesn't exist, so he's not going to change you. Somebody who doesn't exist can't change you. And you got to really look at your relationships yourself. And you lose the opportunity to do that when you let some arbitrary faith dictate to you what your relationships should be and how they should be conducted. And I think that's, sad and tragic. I think the one great thing in my life is I have had one friend that stuck with me since we were little kids. And it's because it wasn't based on any of that. It was just based on the fact that we were friends. And so that's the one thing I still have. But I think healthy relationships don't start with religion. Religion will cause you to turn your back on somebody if they suddenly no longer share your faith or your particular aspect of faith. Then you got to cut them off. How many marriages were ended because somebody became an unbeliever? How many, marriages never took place because, they don't believe, so I can't have it. Huh? The guy is perfect for you, or the girl is perfect for you. You would marry each other well. You like each other. They would be a perfect relationship. No, he doesn't share my faith. And I have to wonder, how many people went into unhealthy relationships simply because they were religious relationships. How many kids got married simply because they wanted to get their rocks off, and they had to get married because their religion told them so, and then suddenly they're stuck with this person in a marriage relationship, and the sex was good, but the rest of it's not so good. How many are like that? Healthy relationships mean you have to get rid of the religious bias, and I'm sorry, it's not true. And so you lose the opportunity for healthier and better relationships. Last life. I don't need to talk about martyrs, do I? Oh, I guess I do. Because William Lane Craig seems to think that there is no cost, but I've heard hundreds of stories over the years of young people, in their 20s, fresh out of Bible college, got that missionary zeal, and they go into a place that nobody's ever taken the gospel before, and they get killed. Okay? If the message turns out to be not true, if the whole thing of Christianity or Islam or whatever that's evangelical in nature turns out to be true, then those people wasted their life for nothing. They literally destroyed their own life for nothing. Now, I could go about living the life, but how many times have we wasted, all the rest of the stuff comes up, with this. But how many people, because of faith, have done things that were foolhardy and ended up dead? Their life cut short, the only life they get, and it turns out there is no afterlife. They pay a heavy cost. So the idea to me at this point that somehow if there's no real cost to it not being true, that's a load of crap. It's garbage. All these things become a genuine cost, and I'll give you one more as a bonus: your money. How many of these religions ask for money? You dropped. I wish I had all the money I've tithed over the years back. I mean, that's like 35 years of tithing since I was a little kid. How much money would I have? What could I have had with that? Who could I have helped with that in real tangible ways? I'm not trying to sit there, but the person who says there's no cost to following faith has never really considered it economically, because there's always a trade-off. There's always a flipping trade-off. Okay, if you choose to follow a religion and you give up your time, you give up your opportunities, you give up your opportunities for self-development and improvement, you give up, having healthy relationships for relationships that your religion tells you you can have. You end up giving up your life at the end of it for some law, and it turns out not to be true. That is a heavy, heavy, heavy cost, in addition to all the money you've thrown at this thing. If it turns out not to be true, the cost-benefit analysis says, no, it is a heavy, heavy cost. I mean, come on, man. Even Jesus, if you're a Christian out there, and you say even Jesus demands everything, unless you got to follow him, give up your life. You got to pick up your cross and deny yourself and give up your life in order to follow Jesus. Jesus even says there's a heavy cost, and you better count it. For somebody like William Lane Craig to be so biblically illiterate that he can't remember that Jesus said that, that's garbage. That is absolute garbage, and it pisses me off. Because these people want to play Pascal's wager. And, and then they want to throw in a cost-benefit analysis. And I'm like, if it turns out to be right, do I lose anything? I don't know. I mean, if the God of the Bible turns out to be true, I'd rather roast in hell, to be quite honest, because he's an asshole. Okay, and I'd rather not be under a tyrant. I'd rather be free and burning than a slave. Okay, because that's what he demands. But if it turns out that it's not true, the cost is equally high. You give up your time, you give up your opportunities, you give up your chance of discovering who you really are. You give up good, healthy relationships that you could have. You give up your life and your money and everything. Your whole being is sacrificed for nothing. And I am sorry. That is just dishonest to me. And it's one of the reasons, like, I look at William Lane Craig and I'm like, what a fraud. What a big, absolute fraud. The only thing he really believes is this witness of the Holy Spirit, which I can tell you right now, every religion has something like that. Well, it's the witness of this that proved my faith to me. It's an argument from experience, for God's sake. Okay, and he can't even prove that his experience is true. And then he has the audacity to sit there and say, well, if you follow this, it really doesn't cost you anything if it turns out to be not true. What? What about people's time? What about their life? What about their money? What about their missed opportunities, bad relationships that they stick with? How many couples have stayed together in bad marriages because they didn't want to go to hell? Okay? Come on, man. Come on. Okay? And I'm tired of this. I'm just tired of it. I want to give you these 5 reasons. If you're out there and you believe, you need to understand there's a heavy cost for this not being true. And you better weigh it. Because if I'm right, if I, Ed Rabyd, the Rabyd Atheist, is right, you have cost yourself the one and only life you get for nothing. For nothing burger. Okay? That's it. And I think you should do better. I'm sitting here as somebody who's looked at it all, tried to figure it out, 40 years of being a Christian, 20 years of being in the ministry, and I'm telling you right now, I think there's nothing at the end of this life, and I'd rather spend the few days that I have remaining, however long that may be, doing something that actually allows me to enjoy and have a better life than wasting any more time, any more of my opportunities, any of that, on something that's a false hope. Any of it. Along with that, I want to address a couple of comments. I had 2 comments of people this week that said they were going to pray for me. A lot of people would expect me to get mad about that. I don't. I get that most of us, including myself, believe that prayer does nothing. Okay, but I get the sentiment. Okay, I get the sentiment. If it gets beyond the actual, I'm going to pray for you, and then they never do it, and they actually do pray for me, they believe, people that pray and believe it has effect, believe that they're doing the ultimate thing for me. And I can appreciate that sentiment. I would rather, instead of you praying for me, that you actually think of something that I haven't thought of that would get me back to faith, but I don't think you're going to be able to do it, okay, because I don't think it exists. We'll see. And so I wanted to address that. Another person talked about how I wasn't fair to agnostics. Well, agnostics just mean that you can't know that there's a God. And I think a lot of people miss the difference. There's a difference between knowing and not knowing, and believing and not believing, okay? That same agnostic says, well, I'm not an atheist. I just don't really feel that we can really know what God is true. And then I will follow up that with a question. Okay, pal, do you have an active belief in any God in particular? Do you believe in any one of them? Now notice I'm not asking whether he knows. I'm asking whether he believes. He looks at me and says, well, I don't really believe in any God because I don't know which one would be true. And then my immediate response is, well, congratulations, you're also an atheist. Because the definition of atheist is somebody who has no belief in any gods or deities. Okay? It's one of the definitions of an atheist, that they find the evidence for the existence of any God unconvincing. And as an agnostic, you obviously find none of the evidence for any of it convincing. Congratulations, you're an agnostic atheist. Okay, atheism and theism are on one thing. Gnosticism and agnosticism are on another spectrum. Okay, those are two very different separate issues. Okay, and so when I talk to most agnostics and I give them that little poser question at the end, probably 90% of them go, well, no, I don't really have, well, congratulations, you're an agnostic atheist. Okay, and the other 10% that I've had, I don't know, I've had comments like that where, well, I still believe in something. Okay, well, now you're an agnostic theist. You believe in something, but you don't know what it is. Okay, that's fine. Okay, at least you're being honest. But agnosticism and Gnosticism have no bearing on whether you're an atheist or a theist. Okay, that's the opposite of atheist is a theist, not agnosticism. And I'll be honest, I think agnostics just say that because it makes them sound like they're giving a little credence to the theist and they're giving a little credence to the atheist. But what it comes down to is, what do you personally believe? Do you believe there's something out there that's a God, or don't you? And if you don't, you're an atheist. You're just straight up an atheist. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Next week I will be trying to incorporate, the 5 things, whatever, and then do a little bit of the Bible study and then address comments. And so Sundays with the Rabyd Atheist might get quite lengthy videos, but I think the YouTube algorithm kind of likes those 5 points or 6 points or 3 points or whatever kind of things more than anything else. At least that's been my experience. So I'm going to head down that direction. I just want to thank everybody. We broke 1,000 subscribers a week ago now, I think, and just passed 3,000 watch hours, and I applied for memberships and stuff like that. So we'll see how that works out. I haven't gotten any word back past the stage of AdSense basically has approved me. So now I'm just waiting for YouTube. So we'll see what happens. But a lot of that's due to you. Thank you very much. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing, doing the things that you do. It really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate every bit of it. Getting closer and closer to a personal dream of mine that I would like to finish, an opportunity I would like to take before I kick off. There's a few things I still want to do, and you guys are helping make that happen. So thank you very much. You're what drives this channel, so thank you. And once again, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you live your best life, and don't waste your time on religion because there's a heavy price tag to it. And I would rather see you walk your own life. Discover yourself, take the opportunities, choose how you spend your time. Don't let somebody choose it for you. And always pursue those healthy relationships and never give your life up for anything that isn't worth it. So thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate you. And have a great, great day, and I'll see you next time.